If you are thinking of a bank that takes care of customers' needs by providing quality services with flexibility, reliability, and innovation, think Trust Bank Limited. With Trust Bank Limited mobile banking, you enjoy services such as balance inquiry, mini statement, funds transfer between accounts, exchange rates, mobile airtime top-up, stop ATM card, checkbook request, and PIN change. Our real-time gross settlement allows the customer to instruct the bank to transfer funds from their account to another account at another bank. Our expertise and experience in international banking is both legendary and the envy of the market. Retail banking, one bank, different amazing packages. Whether you are interested in savings account, current account, time or fixed deposit account, lending or overdraft, our team of dedicated staff is always ready and willing to help you out with your transactions as you wish. Corporate banking. Trust Bank Limited offer the most convenient services for deposit accounts, credit facilities, trade finance, bond and guarantee, and foreign currency account. With e-banking, you can make electronic bill payments and online banking and enjoy 24-hour access to your cash with our ATM. With the largest network of branches and agents, we give you the convenience to receive funds as you please. Trust Bank Limited, proudly Gambian.
fay lempo warugal la si képp koo xam ne doomi réew mi nga ak ñu fi dëkk bu fekkee ne ci at mi sa koom-koom weesu na $24,000 dalasi mbete weer bu nekk di nga am lu tollu si $2,000 dalasi lempo si la nguur gi di sukkandeku ngir liggéey yokkute réew mi GRA mooy banxaas bu nguuri Gambia sas ngir mu fayeku lépp luy lempo ci biir réew mi ba tax na GRA di yëgal faykati lempo yi ne warugal la pour ñu fay lu ñu naan withholding tax on contract payment maanaam bépp contract bu waay joxe te si biir réew mi lañu toog kon xaalis si contract bi ngeen nangotoo war nga cee wàññi ci xayma téeméer bu nekk fukka bu fekkee ne contracto bi dëkkut ci biir réew mi bu boobaa di nga war a wàññi téeméer bu nekk fukka ak juróom lii mooy lempo bu ñu naan withholding tax on contract payment lii mooy lempo bi nga xam ne yow mi joxe contract warugal la nga wëlbatiku dem fay ko ci maakaani GRA tax office bu la gën a jege mbete ci banque yi GRA jagleel pour fay lempo war ngaa jébal lempo bi si diiri fukki fan ak juróom gannaaw bi nga wàññee ci xaalis si contract bi amul benn contracto bu ñu teggil fay lempo bi xanaa mu fekk ne nguuri Gambia ñoo ko jéegale boole si projet yi nga xam ne mbootaay ndimbali ñoo koy dépense GRA di fayeku lempo ngir yokk.
For the first time in the history of the Gambia, Gambia Printing Publishing Corporation proudly introduces the Biliomatic exercise book printing machine. The machine has the capacity to print more than 20,000 books per hour. Yes, 20,000 books per hour. It also prints magazines, newspapers, calendars, flyers, normal books, and all kinds of printed documents, plus items at affordable prices. With the Biliomatic printing machine, GPPC can now render high-quality and non-size restricted printing service supply across the sub-region. Rush now and partner with GPPC for all your public and private printing service needs. Print with us today and you'd be offered highly professional, reliable, and efficient service delivery by our team of experts. The Gambia Printing and Publishing Corporation is here to meet all demands and is reliable at all times. For more info, contact us on 437-4493 or 437-4402. GPPC is Gambian and it's yours.
In communication, connectivity is everything. We ensure that the links never sleep. Quantities and qualities, all in our data service, providing efficient reliable voice, and data service. We believe if you're not up to speed, then you're going backwards. Communications have to flow as fast as the speed of light. Whatever business you're in, having someone who understands your needs is critical. That is why we just don't offer you technology, we offer you solutions. Enjoy Gamsol's internet broadband anytime, anywhere. Your national operator.
Kerr Fatou. Fatou.
Hello and welcome to another edition of our show. We come here every Thursday to talk about current issues that are happening in the country. And of course, we also have a guest in the studio who will be talking to us about what is happening in the country. Last week, we were supposed to have Honorable Momodou Sabally to look at the current status of the economy, because I'm sure you guys know last week there were issues, especially when the OMCs came out threatening to go on strike, and other talking about the current the issue of the foreign currency and other issues, hike in prices that is happening in the country. So we were supposed to have Honorable Momodou Sabally, so he was busy, so we scheduled him for this week. But today with me on the studio, I have Sabally all the way from our studios in Kerr Fatou. Sabally, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Welcome to Kerr Fatou. I am the one at Kerr Fatou today.
Actually, yes, you are the one, so you're welcoming. That's true. And can you imagine, both me and Esa are out of the studio. Esa is also
welcoming both
us
you and Esa
from another location. Esa, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I'm glad that we have Sabally as our guest. Like you said, we're supposed to have him last week.
Yeah.
But due to other engagements, we couldn't have him. So
yeah.
Today, we're glad that we have him, and I'm sure it's going to be a very interesting conversation we'll have.
It's going to be an interesting conversation because I'm having a Badibunka and a Kianka. But you know, before the show, I was telling you this the story about the thief, right? The Badibunka thief that my grandmother thought would never happen.
I'm
glad to have you.
I told you that the first thief that was sent to Mile 2 was a Badibunka.
Really?
I wouldn't reveal the name, and I wouldn't reveal also the village he's from, but
which year did it happen?
Now I wouldn't also reveal the year it happened, but
because it never happened.
No, but Esa, I'm on your side on this time. You know, trust me, I love the Badibunkas. They're my grandparents. I love them, but I do have a Badibunka thief that tried to break into my house. And when they caught the guy and people, you know, they took him to the police station, and my grandmother, somebody came back and said, "Hey, Jandy, yalo nyu someone coming for you. Kona na nisi nyo Badibunka dolo wale dingom. Aka hey, walk today. Ntoli asumol buka moto." So if it was another person, she would be so all over it. But because of Badibunka, she said, "No, Ntoli asumol Badibunka buka asumol no today." She didn't want even anybody to know about this incident. So that's crazy, though.
Can you just disclose which Kianka paid you for this advert?
Actually, I was not paid for this. This is a true story.
You need full disclosure.
But yes, I think before we get into this, the interview first, Esa, we were going to talk about the economy. but we cannot do that without talking about the current happenings in the country. But first, before we start, I want to, if you're watching us, please send us stars. That way you're encouraging the network and you're supporting us. Sabally, can you tell your people to send us stars, please?
Now can you, how do my people understand that?
Okay, now going into the
show. Of the Kiankas.
Go ahead, say that. For the interest of the Kiankas.
Facebook. So now Lamin Sane Yininka OIC at a digital currency loan.
Now going into the show is I want us to talk about first the current issues. I think what is more current right now as we speak, the UDP assistant executive, what is Ibrahim Diba's position? I think it's organizing secretary, deputy organizing secretary.
Deputy national organizing secretary, yes.
Yes, deputy national organizing secretary Ibrahim Diba, sorry, is currently at the Banjul police station. We got information this morning that he was invited for questioning at the Banjul police station. As we speak, I think he is there with the deputy party leader, Ajiyam Yamseka, and Aliyamundo Yabo, the national president. Allegedly, he's being questioned regarding the statement he made in an audio where he was talking about the person who insulted Lawyer Dabo, how he also made statements regarding that. Sabally, what update can you give us regarding Ibrahim Adiba's status? What happened? What did he tell you? You spoke to him recently before we got here. What is the update on Ibrahim Adiba?
Well, what I can tell the viewers is he's currently at the police headquarters. He's been questioned about an audio he made complaining about NPP supporters who insult our party leader, His Excellency Alhaji Hussein Dabo. He made a very strong audio. He was questioned about it. He said he wrote a statement and he stands by his statements. And for some reason, they're still keeping him there. They said they are concluding whatever they are concluding. I don't know. But I think what's happening in this country is the Gambia police force is being used as a weapon of oppression, provocation in this country, specifically against the United Democratic Party, which is completely unconscionable, unacceptable, and undemocratic. And I don't think the UDC should accept this unwarranted, consistent, unwarranted provocation. I think UDP should stand up for themselves and defend the party militants by all means necessary. This is my stance.
So what really prompted this Ibrahim's statement? Because I have not listened to any audios, but it was alleged that a woman insulted the party leader, Lawyer Dabo, and she was taken to the police station. Was it because the party leader reported the incident, or did the police arrest the lady? What do you know about this?
Well, for starts, I'm not bothered about insults in politics, whether it's me being insulted or so. I don't think it's right morally.
Yeah.
But given the way that this incompetent, morally bankrupt government has lowered the bar of decency in this country, I think insults are just about normal in our politics, which is not supposed to be, but it is what it is. But this time around, the kind of insults that were traded at our party leader, somebody played the audio for me. I could not listen to it beyond 30 seconds. I think steps should definitely be taken against the person who did this, because our party leader and secretary general is not only a dignified, honorable citizen of this country, senior member of the bar, former vice president, former foreign minister, but he is also a victim of human rights abuses. For somebody who is supporting President Barrow and operating within the NPP forums to insult our party leader and make mockery of his victimhood, I think this is the lowest of the lowest pit that the morally bankrupt NPP party has ever gone. And I am fully in support of any steps that would be taken to make sure that the lady who did this pays the highest price for it. I'll support that process anywhere, anytime.
Wow, that's okay. Now, Asa, I wanted to bring you in as an independent analyst. Now, my personal position in this is this. When Mohammed Dabo was arrested, I said this here. Me and you had a show 2 weeks ago. I said, morally, I do not support, even though Mohammed is my friend, I do not support anybody who insults elders, because if you insult my father, I will insult you back. And in our own society, these things are not acceptable. But in bigger democracies, insults, I give it to Donald Trump crazy all the time, any day, right? But not like this kind of insults that we see that are happening in Gambia. So I said, I think it is wrong for Mohammed to say those words against the First Lady in her capacity as the First Lady and the President's capacity as the President. Morally, I felt that was wrong.
Can I ask a question?
Okay.
In as much as I don't endorse what Mohammed Dabo did Mohammed Dabo actually insult the First Lady? That's a question to be answered.
No, he didn't, but he said things that we felt were below the belt. I felt that.
I just wanted to straighten the records.
Yes.
I don't endorse what
he did not insult. He did not make insult compared to what this lady did. And that's where I am coming in. I did not hear Mohammed make any insults that much. He said things like mockery things to the person of the First Lady, and I thought that was wrong. I said it here on my show, and I'm on record for saying that. Now, I think this is crazy and absolutely wrong for Ousseynou Dabo, former vice president, a party leader of a biggest, one of the, I think UDP is the biggest party in the Gambia. Let me
not the biggest party.
The second, SR correct me, is the second biggest party, right? He has the largest following. He's an elderly statesperson. He's an elderly statesperson. Now, and I said this yesterday, I wanted to make a post. If I don't know what yardstick is the police using SR. Now, I watch somebody, Babukar Bahum, every single day, insulting Ousseynou Dabo on Facebook, insulting Tumanjai on Facebook, insulting anybody who is Mama Kande, SR Fal, anybody who is public officials, or even people that are political leaders. As long as they oppose the NPP, he's insulting them every single day. I have never had the police question him. Now, what yardstick is the police using in calling people and questioning them? This is my question. What do you think about all of this, Esa?
Yeah, thank you. I think at some point it's really crazy. You don't even know where to start because in as much as we appreciate the democracy that we have restored in 2016, we should also bear in mind that democracies operate within values. Every society has its values, and those values cannot be compromised in the name of democracy. Like you said here, last week or week before last, when we were talking about Mohammed's case, we all agree that it is not only insults, but sometimes the way, the body shaming that he did to the First Lady. I think that was the bone of contention. That was the issue here. And even myself, when I said the reason why they arrested him, it must have been not only the body shaming, but also when he said, well, President Barrow Nini Talata, Dunia Bafala, and then the police will be like, okay, what exactly are you harboring? What exactly do you mean? But it was my opinion that the state should be very careful in arresting people or calling people for questioning when they don't have anything tangible against them. At the end of the day, you might be violating that person's fundamental right, constitutionally guaranteed right. When you invite somebody and said, we are questioning you, you're not only stopping at questioning, but you're keeping the person. Because I think Mohammed was even kept beyond 72 hours, I think. He was
kept for 72 hours, yeah.
Or for 72 hours. And then at the end of the day, you just charge the person. All what we saw is that Mohammed is out there now. It's just, for me, it's just making, that itself is a mockery to the state. When the state will invite people for questioning, you question them. You saw what happened in Dr. Sis's case. You arrested him, charge him, and then you said, okay, go home. Madi Jobate, you called him for questioning, charge him, and then you let him go. Mohammed Dabo also, you call him for questioning, and you let him go. Ibrahim Adiba's case too will be the same. You just call him for questioning.
But Esa, the point I'm trying to make here, Esa, is this. The point I'm trying to make here is this. What is the yardstick? If Mohammed Dabo
I'm
was...
coming to that. I'll come to that especially with the young lady, because I've not even listened to the audio. I'm somebody who, I don't follow some of these things. I hear that there are a lot of people, Gambians, who are on social media making live videos and insulting. The man that you just mentioned, rain insults on people. I don't even know him. I think it was only once when there was this press conference, the major press conference that they called, when he was there and had issues with Omar Waliba and others. But I've never, I'm not on Facebook, by the way, so I don't see some of these things. I think that is why I'm at peace when it comes to some of these things. So I don't follow them normally. But then what I'm trying to say is that when the state call people for questioning, you just ask them, waste their time. At the end of the day, nothing comes out of it. You don't take any legal action against them. Is that the state, is that the type of society that we want to live in? That people have to, people cannot have, freedom of opinion, when it comes to addressing certain things, because you're afraid that the state will come and arrest you. But when they arrest you, they just waste your time. They cannot put any legal charges on you, because they cannot rely on anything in the laws that will say, okay, we are charging you based on this, that, and that, and that. And then when we take you to court, maybe the state can, have its way. But we are not seeing all that. So I think that is really problematic. I said it here the other day that the state, it's time that the state is serious about some of these things. If you don't have anything against anybody or somebody, don't waste their time. Okay, when it comes to Ibrahim Adiba's case, when I also heard of the arrest, I suspected it must have been the response that he made, the audio that he prepared, because I did not listen to it too, but I overheard it from somewhere that somebody said Ibrahim Adiba was talking about the young lady who insulted Hussein Dabo. Like I said, I refused to listen, because I don't listen to some of these things. They are just horrible, especially when you look at senior citizens, how people can just rain insults at them. I did not listen to it, but so I don't know the content of the insult. Really, I don't know the content of the insult, so I cannot comment on that specifically, whether it was just below the belt or so. But one thing I know is that also people just have to be very responsible in statements that they utter, especially against people that are leading groups, be it the opposition or be it the president. Myself, people will say I'm very tough on the president, but I never come out to, rain insults on the president. I wouldn't do that. I know that he's morally, if you look at our society, Alpha Mati. So I wouldn't say, certain things against him. Equally, I wouldn't do that to any party leader, not even an ordinary citizen. I wouldn't do that to any ordinary citizen. I think it calls for civilization for people to be also measured in their comments, things that they say against certain people, especially when they are leading groups. So I think the young lady who insulted the UDP leader is just unfortunate that came from her, and I think it's important. I think the other day I was saying this in one of my media engagements, that the states will also look at these things critically. Like I said earlier, democracy works within our values. We cannot also forget our values. We cannot negate our values. We have to also, let people be reminded that, look, you cannot just because freedom of expression, you say where your right stops is where somebody else's right begins. You don't have any right to come and insult somebody. The person can take action against you, because nobody has any right to come and insult people just like that. Yeah. So we just have to be mindful of some of the statements that we utter. And I think the best thing that could be done, like I always say, political leaders have a very key role to play in some of these things. We have had, this is not the first time, we have had a lot of times when political leaders or figures will be insulted. And I've always said that the leaders of these parties have a role to play. You're the ones that are leading these people. When such things are done, it's important that you call their attention to it. There was a time when people were talking about, there was a day, I think, this was during Jammeh's time, I can't remember, but people said that there was a day when, I don't know whether it was Fatma Jahumpa or who was trying to, say certain things about Hussein Dabo, and, Jammeh had to stop her from talking and all that. So it's important that, we inculcate that spirit of, respect, especially in the young ones who are interested in being politicians, who are militants of certain of political parties. It's important that we try to hold them, for them to know certain, because this is also a threat to the stability of the country. You can never tell what will come out of some of these things.
Yeah. Thank you, Esa. Now, Sabally, before we move on to something, finally, I'm still do you think the police are unfairly targeting political opponents of the incumbent? Because from what we are seeing, I think this is my observation, right? I'm going to call out Babukar Bahom, a strong supporter of the NPP, right? Every single day. This morning I woke up, I saw insults he was raining on the Honorable Tumanjai for what she did at the National Assembly. The other day he was insulting, what's the name? Yaya Sanya, right? And he goes very personal. Ousseynou Dabo, I cannot just tell you how many times he insults Ousseynou Dabo. I cannot tell you how many times he insults Mama Kande and all these opponents. I think Talib Bensouda is his biggest target, apart from Ousseynou. Now, he insults all of these political leaders day in, day out. And we have never had the police pick on him. And we have seen other people who go on live on TVs and places and insult political leaders. But as long as they are not insulting the leaders, like the government officials, they are not questioned. Now, my thing is IGP Sanyang politicizing the police in order to silence the opposition? I just want to know, because that's how it's kind of looking like.
Well, it's quite clear that IGP Sanyang, and not only him, the Attorney General Dauda Jallow, have said before, these two people are the chosen preferred weapons of mass oppression of Adama Barrow and his cabal. IGP Sanyang is apparently now not interested in justice. He's not interested in fair play. He's only interested in protecting his job. And that's why Babukar Bahum will not be arrested. Because I know that Babukar Bahum is paid by close associates of President Barrow. He's paid an allowance for doing what he does. So for me, I don't think IGP Sanyang will even listen to any lessons or any critique of what he is doing. I think it is for the UDP to sit down and re-strategize and know that this is a government that does not care about fair play. This is a government that does not care about rule of law. So UDP should re-strategize and find a way of defending party members and the party leader in particular, because we are not going to accept people insulting Ousseynou Dabo and Adama Barrow and this cabal, this gang of squirrels, sitting down and laughing at that. Enough is enough. We are going to take a step about this now.
Are you worried about Esa and Sabally, both of you? Are you worried about freedom of speech and expression? Now, when Mohammed came out, when he came out of anti-crime, he made a video. It was so funny. He talked about what he went through. He talked about how he was thrown into the cell, how dark it was. He doesn't pray to go back there. He's going to now sing. He's going to sing the First Lady. And, you know, a lot of people who are concerned about freedom of speech and expression were worried. Now, Mohammed came out and said, I don't care. I'm not going to say this because what I went through, I don't want to go through that again. Now, if you do that to me, I might be saying the same things. Now, if the government or whoever is doing this knows that this is what people will do if you arrest them, are we going to see more arrests coming in? And remember, after the election, I don't know whether it was after the election when the president said after the election, he will make sure the IGP doesn't issue permits, and he will make sure that people, you know, he said things that where people felt was threatening to our democracy. And they came out to rectify the statement that the president didn't mean that. But what we're seeing is kind of scary. Are you both worried about freedom of expression and movement and association, people speaking their mind and being picked up and, you know, arrested? Are you guys worried?
Okay, somebody can go ahead here.
Well, for me, I'm not worried about anything because I know that this is a government that does not believe in the rule of law. This is a government that's morally bankrupt, staffed by individuals who don't care about anything but protecting their jobs and their salaries. And they can do whatever they want to do. But what I know for sure, what the Mandinka proverb is the truth. A cobbler who makes this, who covers the yuyus, he will just take the leather and cover the yuyu the way the yuyu presents itself. It is for Gambians to decide whether they are cheap enough for Adama Barrow and his cabal to silence them because they are using different types of tactics. They will use money, they will use positions, and they will finally use the brute force of the police force. So it is left with Gambians. Mohammed's case is quite unfortunate, but Mohammed is who he is. He calls himself a comedian, so should I even judge him about whatever he does, he does. But it's for the Momodou Sabalys, the Ibrahim Adibas, and all these other people that they are targeting, the MC Charms, because we know we are all targets, the Pamudu Bojans, we know we are all in their part, the Madi Jubates. It is for us to stand our ground and draw a line clearly and say enough is enough. You are not going to threaten us. You are not going to shut us down. You are not going to silence us. And for me personally, I'm ready to go to jail. I'm ready to even risk my life to make sure my independence, my freedom of speech is protected, and that will be protected. And no amount of force will be applied on me that will silence me. And I think beyond the individuals, the United Democratic Party, I think we need to revise our policies about this excessive subservience to the law. We need to take a stance. We need to draw a line. We need to send a very clear, unequivocal message to this government that we are not going to sit down and allow citizens of this country to be oppressed, to be suppressed, and for them to be denied their rights. And I know UDP has the knowledge, the decency, the moral reservoir, and the fortitude to stand up to this criminal government to make sure that the law and the fundamental principles of freedom of expression, association are respected in this country. And I don't have a doubt that if Adama Barrow thinks he's playing this game and he's going to push us and shut us down, he is making a very costly mistake.
Esa, 2 minutes before we go to the next topic. What do you think? Are you worried?
Well, I think I'm worried. I'm worried in the sense that I've always been saying that our democracy, is a very fragile one. It's been just restored, and all what we need is to consolidate it. But the consolidation also, is at a risk at the moment, in the sense that, it has been proven, time without numbers, in countries that transition to democracy, sometimes they return to autocracy. This is because there is the notion of big man rule and the absence of democratic accountability. Who holds the government to account, especially when it comes to guaranteeing and respecting fundamental rights and freedoms? This government prides itself on respecting, civil and political rights, as opposed to Jammeh, who respected, second generation rights, socio-economic rights, and did not care much about, civil and political rights. But I think also that civil and political rights is kind of being threatened at the moment. If you look at the way the state is operating when it comes to, not only the laws, but also in guaranteeing freedom of expression. Like I give examples here, the Ismail Assises, the Madi Jobates, the MC Chams, the Nene Fredas, all being arrested and or invited for questioning. At the end of the day, the state wouldn't take any legal action against them. You just waste their time. You kind of, show them signs of trying to silence them. And this is what we have seen. I've also seen just, I think, 2 weeks ago, last week, where an ardent NPP supporter was calling for the arrest of Sabally, Jobate, Madesmadi, and MC Cham, because he see them as the problems of this government. They're here to, cause trouble in the country. I think those are signs. And you talked about the president making that statement to say politics should be over after December for the election. That was before the election. He actually made that statement before the election.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
It was before the election, not after the election. So,
yeah.
And then I raised an alarm to say that, well, Gambians should be prepared. If the president is saying this, then it means that he's serious about it, and anything can happen. Like at some point, we might have our democracy being hijacked in a very civilized way. Constitutional dictatorship is something that is trending in Africa, and we should be worried about that. So for me, I'm worried, really. And then the state needs to really be careful about some of these things, because if you push people to the corner, at some point, everybody will be scared. Well, when I talk, they will invite me for questioning, and they keep me in very horrible situations or conditions. And of course, it can lead to certain things when people want to now take the law into their own hands. And I think that's something that they should run away from. Don't invite people for questioning when you don't have anything tangible, anything concrete to ask them or to put to them. But if you just invite people for questioning just because you want to invite them, or maybe it's a strategy or a tactic to silence them, that is really worrying. And I think we really need to look into that. Civil society organizations, right groups really need to engage the state, especially the National Human Rights Commission needs to engage the state on some of these things. That it's not good for the democracy when the state always constantly or consistently, question people for statements that they have made, statements that are not necessarily threat to the stability of the country. Because when you talk about security, who defines security or national interest? National security, who defines it? We know that the state is responsible for national security, but how you define that, especially when you want to use some of these statements to say, these are insults. These are, how do you, I mean, yes, morally, these are problematic. The way somebody talks, but then using our law books, when you go through our legal, I mean, what law are you, which law are you going to use specifically to press charges against it? And that's why when the state question these people, when they invite them for questioning, they don't have anything against them. They just waste their time. At the end of the day, they'll say, okay, you can go your way. But like I said, also, I'm worried in another sense that at some point, people are abusing also the free. Like I said, where your right stops is where somebody else's right begins. You don't just have to say, okay, because I have the freedom of expression, I have the media at my disposal. WhatsApp, social media is at the disposal of everyone. Even your grandma in Badibu can access WhatsApp and just send a message. So because it is accessible to even the Badibunkas, anybody can just wake up any morning, anytime, and just rain insults at somebody. And I think this is morally not apt in our society. We also, like I said, democracy also operates within values, and we have to be very cautious of these things, because at the end of the day, it can destabilize the stability of the country and the very social existence or coexistence that we have as a people.
Now, talking about silencing, Sabally, we just saw. I know for the past couple of weeks we have seen a lot of audios and talks coming from the side of the incumbent, talking about how somebody like Sabally, Momodou Sabally, MC Cham, Martis should be silenced because you guys are a threat to national security, and when you are bringing this country into dispute and all the stuff. And then we saw a lawsuit coming from businessman Abubakar Jawara suing you, a civil suit against you for defamation, and he's claiming $8 million. It came to us as a shock to so many people. But again, I didn't think so many other people were surprised, because I think Abubakar has said before that he wanted you to apologize. If not, he was going to sue you. Now, when you received this suit, what was your first initial reaction to the suit, the lawsuit?
Well, like you said, some are surprised, others are not. I wasn't surprised that I was sued, and I was mentally, psychologically, legally prepared. So my initial reaction is, you want to go to court, let's do it. You can't silence me. The whole suit is a malicious attempt to restrict my constitutional, democratic, human rights of freedom of opinion and expression. And I'm not going to surrender that for any reason. I'm prepared to go to court, and we'll fight this to the end. Momodou Sabally cannot be caged. My hashtag is can't cage me, and nobody can cage me. I'm ready to go to court anytime.
I think what they wanted from you is an apology. Do you think at some point will you be open to apologizing to him?
What would I apologize for? What would I apologize for? And expressing my mind on matters of very serious public interest. What is the essence of democracy if politicians and social commentators cannot speak about matters of public interest? I'm not apologizing for that. That's my right.
Esa, you saw or you heard. I know you are not on Facebook, so you don't know all the juicy things that happened. But I'm sure you heard about the lawsuit. What was your initial reaction when you saw that? Because I think Sabally's comments came out when the issue about the gun issues, the sand mining, and other things came up, and Sabally had an opinion about that, and I think that is what Mr. Jawara is suing him for. What was your initial reaction when you saw the lawsuit?
Yeah, so I saw it on your status, your WhatsApp status, when you update. Normally, you update the news.
I do update stories on my status.
Yeah, so yes. When I
my WhatsApp. If you don't watch my WhatsApp, is a news site. People should be checking on my WhatsApp. Yes.
Yeah. So when I saw it on your WhatsApp status, I was interested to know exactly what happened, because I just saw $8 million and all that. So I was interested to know the whole story. I went and checked, that I realized that he was demanding for, he called it unreserved apology, right? Also $8 million in compensation for damages or defamation or whatever you call it. So when I saw it, I was like, okay, I remember sometime last year when he requested apology from Sabally for that. And then I think he was given 7 days. I think I
Yes.
just remember 7 days.
Yes.
Yeah, within 7 days, otherwise he will take legal action, and nothing came out of it.
Yeah.
He did not end up taking legal action. And when I saw this one, I was like, okay, my first reaction was maybe this is another kind of maybe in quote a threat. But then I was also like, maybe he's serious this time around. But I thought of the man, okay, looking at him personally in some of these legal threats that he made, because I remember last week or so, I was reading the Trumpet newspaper when I realized that he was also kind of threatening them because they made very serious revelations about, the fertilizer contract, the fuel contract, I think with the GNPC, and all those issues. And when he threatened them that they should apologize and all that, the editor of the newspaper said vehemently and outrightly that he was not going to apologize at any point, and they have evidence of Jawara implicating President Barrow in the award of that contract. In fact, they quoted these text messages that were shared, quoting him saying that he spoke to the president and telling the business partner that the business partner telling him that, look, Barrow, the president needs the election, so and then he was like, yeah, he will give the money, don't worry about that. That is according to Trumpet, all that. So I was like, okay, he himself, is it that at some point he's guilty with regards to some of the contracts that are awarded to him? How does he get this? Because in fact they said one of the contracts, I think the fertilizer or the fuel one, he plagiarized. According to them, he plagiarized, copied, pasted everything, and submitted. That was an issue. So it shows that this is what we call cryptocracy in politics or in governance. These are big business tycoons who will be behind the government dictating, and somehow they build in a very good relations with the government, and they're part of the cabal who are interested in maintaining or sustaining their businesses, and they go at any length just to make sure that their business survive. But also I was like, okay, $8 million is just too much. I don't know whether the guy wants to.
We're gonna have to sell the entire body to raise 8 million for him. Yeah.
So
I think Kiamgas National Park would do it.
So I was thinking along all that line, but also at some point, I want to say this. I know it might generate controversy, but our lawyers sometimes have to be very serious with some of these things. I don't know what kind of lawyers are behind some of these things. You just look at somebody just expresses his opinion or her opinion, and especially with even newspapers, media houses, they write something that is so factual. How will somebody, you call a client or whoever, come to you and tell you that I want to take a legal action against this person? I know for certain this is their job. They also at some point have to survive and all that. But you have to be serious, because it's very bad for the reputation of the lawyer for you to be going to court and losing cases. So when something doesn't make sense, a case doesn't make sense. Especially when it comes to the media and people saying things that are factual. I'm not sure what Sabally has said. I haven't read that entirely. I don't know what he has said. But if what he has said is factual, he himself is here, he can clarify. But if what he said is factual, then how is that damaging to his reputation? If what he said is not factual, then there is a problem with that. You can say, okay, he has a cause, or he has a reason to file a case. But also even the media house, let me just complete, like the media house that also published some of these things about him. If what they're saying is true, is factual, then why are you wasting people's time? You're threatening that, and this is a norm in the Gambia now, that some of these big business tycoons who are engaged in these malicious activities, dubious activities, trying to get contracts, when newspapers or media houses publish something about them, they're like, I'm going to sue you, I'm going to take a legal action against you. And they're not only stopping at media houses, but also targeting even private individuals, especially people who don't know their rights. Maybe somebody like Sabally or somebody else will not bother much, but somebody who is very ignorant about the law, doesn't know his rights and all that. You talk about some of these things. Okay, apologize, or I take legal action against you. You will pay compensation of $10 million or $20 million. They can be so worried, and as a result, it's a tactic. It's a tactic to silence people. But I think.
But how do we draw the curtains between public people who are awarded government contracts. Now, if you are a businessman and you want nobody to tarnish your image, to talk about your business or to talk about your dealings or how you get contracts, I understand that. But when you are awarded public contracts, things that Gambian people have interest in, I think it will be impossible for you to say nobody's going to talk about how your contracts were awarded. So what is the distinction when businessmen, because this has become a norm. Now, people say taking people to court because they've said something about them and they say, oh, it's a reputation of my brand, so I'm going to take you to court, and those kind of things, because it's a provision in our law now. But if you're awarded contracts, and these are contracts that are of public interest. For example, I do understand one time, when the gun issues also came up, a lot of people were talking about Abubakar because he was awarded a license to do that. Now, people will want to know how that process happened, right? And also when the GNPC issue came up, there were a lot of talks about people concerned about how he got that. I would think those things are okay if people are following up and then saying, how is government, I think this is, for me, this is not about Abubakar when it comes to people following how contracts are awarded, right? So if in the process it's awarded to Fatou Toure or it's awarded to S05, we're going to talk about Esa or Fatou Toure, right? But in this case, it's awarded to you and people are talking about it. Is that a ground for anybody to say, I'm going to take somebody to court based because they were talking about how my contract was awarded and that I was not awarded rightly? It's not for Abubakar's case, but generally, what is the distinction in this? Should we not talk about, as long as they are not public officials, we should not talk about it? Is that the right way?
In politics, when you even look at the definitional, explanation of politics, what politics entail. We have politics in two far, like where it takes place. Politics in the arena it takes place, and politics as a process. The process, we look at politics as consensus and compromise, where we disagree to agree. We also look at politics as power, where people struggle over scarce resources. Resources are there, but they're scarce in society. Then when it comes to the arena, we look at politics as an art of government, like it takes place at the state level of the government. But we also look at politics as public affairs. And when we come to public affairs, we're looking at the distinction between the private and the public. But at some point, the private becomes public in another sense. And that's a typical example here, what we're seeing. Baboubacar is a private citizen. Okay. But also, his private life becomes public because he's engaged in handling public projects. Do you understand my point? So because you have your business, it could be private, but the moment you start taking state contracts, then your life becomes public. You have to be scrutinized you have to be subjected to public scrutiny, and you can't escape from that. And this is what is happening exactly here. That Abubakar has his business, but okay, if you don't want to be subjected to public scrutiny, then don't take public contracts. But it's important that when you take public contracts, you take state contracts, you bear in mind that people will have to scrutinize, people will have to subject you to scrutiny to know exactly what are the process in that led to the awarding of the contract. And of course, the reason why people are so interested in this is that the Gambia government, this government is fond of violating rules, be it the public finance law, be the tax laws, be the GPPA Act, even though they have this single sourcing, which in fact the World Bank and the IMF have advised them to strengthen the GPPA.
Yes, your screen is very dark. I don't know. PMS on social media. No, it's the screen. I
think I have to put on the light. Let me just
put on the light whilst go ahead.
Just completely. So so Abubakar must also bear in mind, and all government contractors must bear this in mind, that your company might be a private entity, but once you take public contracts or state contracts, then you must be subjected to public scrutiny. And this is where the private life and the public life in politics meet. And when they meet, then we see politics as public affairs. And that is something that they really have to be cautious of. And people must subject you to scrutiny to find out what led to the awarding of the contract to you. And that should not be taken as personal, as defamatory, only if the person goes personal, really personal, to you. But subjecting you to scrutiny to say, while the way this contract was awarded is wrong, did not go in line with the rules, the regulations, and all that, and then you take that as defamatory, and then thinking that okay, has brought damage to your business, I think you're being unfair to the public, because this is their phone as well that is being used to to move your business, to take it to somewhere. So I think that it's important that we draw the distinction, but we also know where politics as public affair and private affair meet or converge.
Okay, now finally, Sabally, on this case, before we go to this economy, I saw a lot of outpour of support when this thing came out. I saw a post that really made me laugh. I laughed so hard. I think it's from Dembanja in Sweden. He said, Abubakar, Bilai Abubakar, yo ending a problem. Momodou Sabally nga su ak UDP nga hamne. Can you hear more than leka? That was really funny though. Like I just kept laughing when I saw that post. But I saw your party militants from top to bottom, the support that they gave. I know of people who are saying, oh, we need to make money, we need to raise funds to support his legal fees. And you see all of these things coming out from different angles. How do you feel when you see people supporting causes like this? Do you think people still want to make sure that our freedom of speech is guaranteed and all of that?
I think Gambians are interested in sustaining the gains in democracy the last 5 years, and they do it as a matter of principle. It's not about the passing of Momodou Sabally or the other litigant. As far as I'm concerned, the outpouring of support is a support for principle, it's a support for the entrenchment of democratic freedom, freedom of expression, freedom of opinion, people's rights, especially social commentators, their rights to speak about matters of serious public interest without fear of any threats for being silenced. I think if anybody thinks you can come around and raise a big stick and you'll shut down Gambians, you're making a mistake. This is this is the Kanasong generation. Nobody can cage us.
Nobody can cage us. Talking about courts. I believe that the courts are there for everybody. You remember we are going to court for 20 million, and then still I see a lot of people in the comment section asking me, "Oh, how about your 20 million case?" Yes, it's still ongoing, and so that's why when I see people talking about justice, justice that they're delaying the courts. We are in the court for almost 6 years. We are still at mention stage when it comes to that case. Remember, so it's the justice system is kind of very slow. These cases drag 100 years, and then but at the end of the day, at one point things will
I think you've made an important point there. I think the judiciary, they need to put their house in order, and unfortunately sometimes it's even difficult for people to scrutinize the judiciary for obvious reasons.
Yes.
But in a democracy, that institution is one of the most critical. It's not just your case. I have another case pending there. Against the finding of the General Commission.
That has to do with your life. Yes.
My rights. Almost 3 years. I mean, this cannot go on forever. We just saw the Bob Keita case here. A lot of people who were talking, they are not talking because they think Bob is guilty or not. They just wanted due process to be followed. And there's a lot of abuse of process in this system that ends up victimizing people. So I think it is very sad that in our move towards our new democracy, one of the most important institutions is becoming the weakest link.
Yeah, I think I've said that several times, and we are all restricted because these are judiciary, and I said I had the funny thing about talking about the judiciary as Sabally is this. I remember bringing 2 or 3 lawyers in my office on my show, and accidentally we wanted to talk about the judiciary. And when I said this, and I meant no bad. I just was going to say, I was saying when I saw people talking about the Bob Keita case and making it look like it was targeted for him, I said, no, it was not. This is the judiciary. This is how things happen in that case. I know a case that my dad is involved some 10 years ago is still in the system. It's not done. I know that our 20 million case is still pending at the judiciary. I know of another case that a little girl who has got her child stuck in the Gambia over 3-4 years is still in the courts. So many other people, your case that has to do with your livelihood is 3 years in the courts right now. So, but a lot of people don't want to speak about this because at some point we are all going to court at one day or the other, and you just don't want to hurt the feelings of those people. It is so.
Yeah.
This is the fact. This is the fact.
It's unfortunate, I know
this is the fact.
I criticize them, and I will continue to criticize them because I know that there is no God but God.
It's a very, very delicate situation.
But really, I mean, Gambians, we need to speak up some more. The system needs to be clean.
Now talking about the system. Actually, the main interview was more about before all of this thing came. We spoke 1 hour already about all the happenings, but we wanted to look at the economy, Sabally, because the reason last week when I called you, we were talking about the OMCs threatening to go on strike, right? And they were talking about the foreign exchange. I remember seeing you having a comment about that. Our Lamin brother, we always say we don't hit our people, but at some point when the national issue is at stake, you have to come up and say stuff, right? I remember you coming out and saying stuff about how things are running at the central bank and the finance ministry. So I wanted to bring you and say, look, I know the entire world, things are tough. In America here, people are talking about gas prices, food is expensive, everything is expensive. But every single day, the government is doing something. Just last week, the president, American president, has had to go to the reserve to take away over 15 million barrels to pump into the industry to calm the situation. Governments take strategic positions to be able to make it a little less painful for the citizens. Now, give us an overview, your own assessment of our current status of the Gambian economy.
Well, to be honest, without mincing any words or sugarcoating anything, the economy is in a state of terrible mess. The Gambian economy has been catapulted into a tailspin by no one else but Adama Barrow and his government. Who is surprised? Maybe you, but not me, because I've been following developments in this economy practically all my adult life, from my first job at the central bank starting in 1999 as economic statistician down to the director of budget. Even at State House, I was dealing with economic issues. When I left, I'm still studying and analyzing the economy. I mean, I've written like more than 24 open letters to Adama Barrow and his finance minister about the moves that we are taking consistently that we are worsening our economic situation. Macroeconomic analysis, all you hear about World Bank, IMF, all this conditionalities is based on one equation. The idea is to make sure revenue is equal to expenditure. If expenditure is going to be bigger than revenue, let it not go beyond a certain threshold, ideally 3-4% of GDP. What this government has been doing is spending beyond her means, increasing salaries, increasing public expenditure on politically motivated white elephant projects that cannot be sustained. What do they have to do? Consistently increasing taxes on all Gambians and struggling businessmen. That's what has been straddling this economy. We already have a debt situation that's not sustainable. This government twice made gargantuan increases in salaries. Mamboure Njie is 50%, CD Keita is 33%. I must give some credit to CD Keita. When he was doing it, this so-called reverse, where he told them that they are going to increase taxes. Petroleum prices will be increased. He said it. I was actually shocked that this National Assembly approved that mini budget, because he told them the consequences. I did tell them before. I wrote open letters. I did interviews in the media that this salary increase is not going to help you. It will worsen the debt situation. It will worsen inflation. You're going to have an increase of $2,000-3,000 on your salary, but your expenditure because of inflation will be higher than that. What are you gaining? What's happening now? Salaries have been increasing, but the cost of living is increasing higher than the salary levels. I don't like to speak about their issues without looking at the numbers. I just went to the central bank website, and I found that the inflation rate right now for the month of September is 13.3%. This has not happened in this country for the past more than 20 years. From Clark Bajo's time down to Famara Jata, Momodou Sabally, Amadou Koli, and Nanaman Kejang. Musufe Kukofi Easy, Gan Mokofi Easy, unfortunately is our own brother. And I'm not missing my words that Boa said he has not been doing the right things at the central bank. Because he's the first governor I have ever seen who went public asking commercial banks to lend to government for what? It was a political season. So government overspent, they laid foundation stones, the projects are not finished. There is rampant and outrageous procurement fraud in this system. And that's one of the most dangerous, because procurement is you're talking of millions and millions of dollars. If the valves are not tight, everybody is taking stuff. I mean, contractors are running away with government money. So what's going to happen? The economy is going to cripple. Inflation is high. The currency has depreciated. And to add injury to insult, what did they do recently? They brought in a very obnoxious policy on foreign currency denominated.
Before you go to foreign policy, Sabally, you just touched on something very important. The inflation rate, 13.2. Yes. In America right now, it's 8.2 in America, and people are going crazy. Now, people are just going crazy about that rate because, you know, if you compare the earning powers compared to the Gambia, it's totally different. Now, if our inflation rate is at this point is 13.2, how can the ordinary Gambian who gets home every month with $5,000 or $7,000 be able to provide the basic needs for their family? Is this not encouraging all of these, stealing and all these things that are happening, or even the malpractices in the procurement system? If people see a way out of getting money from the system because they need to feed their families, don't you think they will do that?
Absolutely, it's even contributing to all these heinous crimes being committed. I mean, social unrest, people are angry, people are fighting, people are getting into armed robbery because people cannot just feed their families. I get calls and messages on a daily basis for basic mundane stuff like paying $1,000 for the child at school, food to eat, I mean, lunch for students to go to school, and it's all created by this government. And of all governments, like you said, inflation is high in the US, and the number you're quoting is actually exceptionally high. I've never had it go that high. But even those countries, they have some means of, like you spoke about America touching their reserve. We don't even have enough fuel in our tank, stock less of reserves. So that's why I've been very careful and very highly outspoken about the economy, because I knew where we were headed, and that is where we are today. Oil marketing companies cannot bring in fuel because they don't have dollars. Where are the dollars? In one of President Barrow's own supporters, Panjai Girigara, went after him. He said, where are our foreign reserves? What's the central bank governor doing with the reserves? If you are keeping people's foreign currency denominated accounts, they cannot take dollars. They only take dollars after several months, and there's no dollar in the economy. Where did the dollars go? Who stole our dollars? That's the question Gambians should be asking now. And now that the OMCs, for obvious reasons, banks cannot give them letters of credit, cash-based. Banks don't have dollars, and the government is cheating the OMCs. And I know my boy came here, Alaji Jaro, he's my boy from finance, very smart, but let him not ever try to defend the indefensible here. I think that's an easy ride with Njai, but I'm not going to let it happen. The government, even the price structure is defective, it's fake. The dollar, everybody knows that you cannot get the dollar for less than $60 in this country. If the government is telling OMC that they are buying this fuel at a rate of $56, that's a lie. It's not true. They're cheating the OMCs. They are bringing down their margins. The government is taking from every Gambian that buys fuel, on average, $18 per liter. Why can't they reduce that by 50%? When fuel prices have been high here for the past 3 years, during the coronavirus period, oil prices were almost down to zero in the world market. This government kept up these fuel prices to steal money from citizens, because that is what it is. Now that oil market companies are making losses because of a fake exchange rate and because of the low margins they're imposing on them, because the price of fuel is not free. They're trying to pit the public against the oil marketing companies as if they are greedy people trying to extort us. No, they are not greedy. They're business people. They're Gambians. They're employing Gambians. They need to recoup their investment. They need to make profits to reinvest. It's the government that's stealing our money and giving it to corrupt contractors and destroying this country on a daily basis. That is why we are in all of these problems. And the problem about fuel, if its price increases, prices rise across the board because everybody deals with fuel, from bread to whatever you name it. This is the situation in the country, and the government is not helping it. The government should admit its mistakes. And I personally believe President Alvaro should call the business community to a meeting and hear from them, because I think his technicians, from the governor of the central bank to the finance minister, they are all fooling him. They are not telling him the truth.
Why do you think we are in this situation? Is it because of that policy of restricting the tendering of the dollar? The banks were not selling. The central bank put an embargo on the foreign exchange rate and the foreign currency. Do you think that is the reason why we're in this situation?
There was no embargo. The reason is basically that equation. There is a mismatch between revenue and expenditure. Government is spending way above what government is earning in terms of revenue and expenditure, and that is why the economy is the currency is depreciating. That is why people would rather hold their wealth in foreign currency than in the local currency. So if everybody wants the dollar to keep it, who is going to sell the dollar for people to buy it? Central bank, I can tell you for free, there was no embargo on foreign exchange. They are giving it to some businessmen who are not even Gambians, in the name of, if some businessmen want, like, if they need $300,000 to go and do some business about importing food, they'll give them more than double that. There are dirty deals happening in this government every day. So they are the ones creating this problem, because when they brought in the policy of foreign currency denominated accounts that you cannot take your dollars, I spoke to a businessman who is in the money market. He told me I deposited $400,000 into a bank last week. This week, a government company came and they wanted a government fuel company. They wanted about the same amount to import fuel. He went to the same bank. The bank said they don't have dollars. Where did the dollars go to? We have a criminal mafia system in this country that's wrecking this economy and destroying the lives of poor people.
And the other, when we interviewed SR's system is, I will go ahead. He will join us later. When we had Mr. Haidara from how do you call it, from Jar Oil. I remember when we invited Jallo from the finance ministry. I mean, me and so many other people believe, yes, these OMCs are trying to hold government at ransom. And I remember Hamidu and his team were not happy with that, but and they came on the show. But when Mr. Jack came on the show, Mr. Haidara came on the show. He made it clear how much they were bleeding from what is happening, lack of the dollar, and they don't have input in the price structure. Even one thing he said though was how the CFA was gaining so much strength because of what is happening in our country right now. That was crazy. He said people take their money, go change it to a CFA, and then come bring it to Gambia and change it into that scenario, and how it's affecting our economy was really crazy, Sabally. The CFA has grown so fast recently compared to the Dalasi since all of this happened. Why do you think this economic policy is affecting our economy so bad?
Well, the point is, no economy is an island in this globally interconnected system. Mm-hmm. We live inside another country. If that country is implementing better economic policy, their currency is going to be stronger than yours. And in fact, that currency is more useful regardless of the exchange rate, because you take this CFA, you go to Ivory Coast, you go to Mali, so Gambia should be exceptionally careful about economic policy. But if we are reckless about economic policy, the Senegalese are not fools. They will implement policies that will make their currency more attractive. And you know what Ja is talking about? It's called arbitrage. It's been here like since we were at the central bank. But what we did back then in the days of Clark Bayo, we monitor the situation. Once we know that these things are happening, we also come up with policies that will favor our economy. This government is living beyond its means, borrowing excessively to the point that even the World Bank has said that our debt is unsustainable. And because of this excessive increase, if you talk to anybody who really understands the Gambian economy, economics history 30 years ago, this country has been called the supermarket of the sub-region from the days of Sadauda. Our economy is strongly supported by the re-export trade that brings us millions and millions of dollars and euros from Senegal, Bissau, Mali. They all come here to shop. Even the Senegalese would come from Senegal and come in here with millions of dollars and euros to come and do their trade, get their safer, do whatever they, because Gambia was attractive. Now we're killing literally the goose that lays the golden egg. What happens? You don't have the egg alone. That's the example I gave to Mambure Njai, one of the worst finance ministers ever in our history. When they increased taxes on Julbru by more than 700%. I said, you can't do this. If you are getting like 100 million from Julbru, I mean, you'd rather just increase it to 110. But if you want to increase it to 700 million, you will lose even the 100 million. What happened? Julbru closed. What is government getting from Julbru?
Zero.
You know, one of the most remarkable brands in the history of this country, gone down even because of reckless fiscal policy implemented by this government, because they don't care about tomorrow. All they're thinking about is today, and now it has caught up with them. Because let me tell you, Fatou, this fuel problem is still not solved. Do you know that?
Yes.
Yes, at loggerheads. I understand the vice president called the business community and read some nice poetry to them. Poetry does not solve this. This is not poetry. This is plumbering. You have to deal with the numbers. They have to make sure the dollar is available. Government has to reduce their taxes. They have to reflect the real exchange rate in that corrupt and fake price structure that they are imposing on the business community.
But what the vice president, what Mr. Haidara told us when he was on the brunch is this: when they met the vice president, as I think you were on that panel. Oh no, you are not. When they met the vice president, they told him the true reflection of what was on the ground. Now that brings to mind, and specifically he said this, and I said. He said the Ministry of Finance, he never respond to their letters. They were snobby, they were bullish. He quoted all of those things. And some people in these other corners were saying, look, this is all a sabotage against the new minister, because people have their gang of people that they want in these ministries. Once those people are not there, you have been at the finance ministry. Is that one of the things that do happen in that sector? It has to be a certain people or a certain person. If that person is not there, there are a lot of sabotaging on the side. But this is what Mr. Haidara said. And he also said, when they met the vice president, the feeling they had was the government didn't even know the true nature of this big problem. Meaning the finance minister was not telling the vice president and other cabinet ministers and the president the exact scenario of what was happening. If that is the situation, that is really serious. That means the government is not working in uniform to know what was happening. That statement kept on sticking in my head. Yes, I did. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Who's speaking? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not an economist here, so that is why I wouldn't be able to say much. I think I will just look at this from the political angle, knowing fully well. I mean, there are certain things that are so basic, even though we are not economists, but there are certain things that are so basic. If your expenditure is more than what you earn, then you run into trouble. That is so basic, even if you look at it from an individual level, not even microeconomic. But then also, what is so clear is that if a country or a government wants to increase salary, we know that it's either, especially in our context, the so-called developing world, it's either you are relying on external donor support, or you're trying to, you have another avenue for revenue generation. Or if you don't have another avenue for revenue generation, it means you are going to increase taxes. I think these are the three things that we can rely on, or areas we can rely on when the government wants to increase salaries. Exactly is in the case of the Gambia. They just have to increase. I think the finance minister, like he said, really, when he was presenting that bill, really warned them. The warnings were there. Probably the parliamentarians we are not paying much attention to what he was saying, but I think the way he was presenting, those were warnings to them. But then they downplayed it, and just because this is politics, well, you try to camouflage the situation for an ordinary guy. Say we're increasing your salary increment. That's what they're interested in. They're interested in having few $1,000s or maybe a few hundred. Some I know it's few hundreds, like $800 is added to their salary. But when that is added to your salary, you know that they are taking it from somewhere. And pay you. And where are they getting that money? As a tax-based economy, relying on tax heavily. It's the business people who are bringing products in the country that will pay that money, that tax, and that tax is what they pay you as a salary. That's what they increase for you as a salary. So if they are increasing that, the business people, those that are bringing commodities in the country will obviously have to increase, price of commodities, and the government cannot do anything about that. They will just camouflage the situation for you that we are increasing. But what is the point in me having $800 increment on my salary when bag of rice has also moved from, let's say, $1,000 to $2,000, for instance? Okay, so there is, it's the same. There is no point in that.
We just lost Esa. Sabally, back to.
Okay. Yeah, the government talking about, okay, always taking excuse, because I think African governments, especially the Gambian government, Ukraine war and the COVID-19, now. Every now and then they will say, the Ukraine war, COVID-19. These are the excuses that our governments are using, especially the Gambian government, as to why we are having a lot of economic challenges. But I think, well, somebody can help me in that regard. I'm not an economist. I think if you are facing such, economic difficulties, there is one thing that is very essential: fiscal discipline. Wastage of state resources is very rampant in the country, and of course, corruption is on a very high scale at the moment as well. If you know that you have certain economic realities, I think one thing that the government can do is to fight corruption, because this is where a group of people will loot state resources for their personal interests, but also wastage of state resources. When you are in certain economic, even at an individual level, if I'm in my house and I know that I'm having some economic challenges, what I do is I control the way I spend, okay, because I'm not earning much because of certain economic realities. So if you are in that situation as a country, you go to New York and take up to 40 people or so, some of them who have no business there, they spend the night, or they sleep in very expensive hotels, and they receive their per diems, and frequent traveling of public officials as well. I think that is not really helpful for the economy. If you look at it as well, I always say that the COVID, if there's anything, one lesson that COVID-19 taught us as a country is that, especially as developing countries, is that we can really save a lot of resources when it comes to these frequent traveling. So travels that we do, attending meetings here and there, meetings that have no, that we can do while we are home, meetings that we can really do online. You don't have to travel physically to this country. So those are all strategies that the government needs to put in place in order to manage the economy, and of course manage the expectations of the people based on the economic realities. But if you're having those such an economic condition or situation, and you're busy, you're not interested in fighting corruption, but you're also busy wasting state resources, then you have no excuse. And the excuse that they always take, like I said, COVID-19, Ukraine war. The essence of having government, elected government, is for them to provide solutions for us. Yeah, we know that these are realities. There is some of these economic difficulties or financial difficulties are externally induced. You must be able to create, come up with tangible solutions. That is what people voted you for. We know that the realities are there, the challenges are there. Yes, we know there is Ukraine war in Ukraine. We know there is COVID-19. Yes, we know that. But you can't keep on talking about the same problem. You can't keep on talking about the same problem without talking about the solution. And people always get back to us to say, at some point, you people are only clear. One of my students told me this. He said, I follow your programs. I think you talk more about the problems, how about the solution? I say, see, Gambians have to, politically, the awareness is very lacking. It is not my responsibility to provide solution to government. Do you understand? It's not bad if citizens come up with solutions, but the essence of having government is for them to know, okay, point out the problems, this is the problem, and then come with a solution. Okay, it's just like when you go to the hospital. How can the doctor, a medical doctor, expect a patient to provide solutions or cure to his sickness? Okay, if you're sick, you go to the hospital, you expect the doctor to diagnose you and tell you that this is the problem you're having, this is the treatment. So that is the role of the government. The government is there as just like a medical doctor in a hospital. People have problems. Yes, we have problems. We're talking about it. It's just like if you tell people that those who are sick should also provide solutions. They should not be only complaining about their sickness. They complain about their sickness, you provide solutions. So government must be able to come up with solutions. That's what all countries are doing. Be it America, they are faced by they face the challenge, the brunt of the Ukraine war and the COVID-19. Be it America or Vietnam or China or anywhere in the world, every country is facing this. but they're trying to strategize to come up with solutions. But if you're not coming up with solutions, you are only telling us that we have this challenge, you have this challenge, people have to be, to be patient with us. And also people asking, citizens have to provide solution. Analysts, those who are talking on the media have to provide solution. We are not here to provide solution. Okay, yes, it's not bad if we do it, if we can, because we are not experts in all areas. How do you expect ESA to provide solution on something that is economy? Or do you understand? Something that is health.
That's why we have people like Sabally here. They should be able to give us solutions.
No. But what I'm saying, what I'm saying is that if Sabally gives a solution as an economist, that's that's totally fine, pro bono, right? If Nyangai does it, that's pro bono. Or if somebody as a health expert does it, pro bono. But it is not obligatory on him. It is not mandatory. It is not his responsibility. It is not my responsibility to provide solutions. The government is there to identify the problems and provide solutions. People hold the government to account when it fails to act. So people must understand this. Yes, if people want to provide solutions, citizens want to do that, not only talking about the problems, but they have solutions. But sometimes the way we talk about these things is also, if you look at it critically, there are solutions to it. Okay, when I'm talking about the challenges that we face as a country, I'm talking about government also cutting spending, wastage of state resources, the frequent travel. Is that not a solution?
Yes,
I'm telling you that so sometimes you have to listen to us with an open mind. When we talk about the problem, sometimes we're even talking about the solutions without you knowing. You have to listen with an open mind. I'm telling you that there's economic. I'm telling you, reduce spending, cut frequent travel. So that is a solution to it as well.
That's definitely, and that brings to my next question. Sabally, I've said this to somebody. Like him, hate him, whatever you say, he has experience in this area. So sometimes when he says things like this, you should listen. Don't look at him as Sabally, the politician. Now, Sabally, you worked at Central Bank at very young age. You worked there, you're a statistician, you're an economist, you worked at the Ministry of Finance as the chief budget. You prepared the national budget. You did it at a very young age, but you also worked at policy level, Office of the President, as Secretary General and Minister for Presidential Affairs. Now you worked at the Central Bank, being the custodian of the our money, right? And then you went to the Ministry of Finance. You were there dishing out the money, looking at the relevant authorities, say, hey, finance, you get this, you get this, you get this. You know how these things are done. You also worked at the State House, where, as the Secretary General, you directed policies, and you had experience in all of this. Now, looking at your experience, I said this several times: hate him, like him. I don't agree with him on all of those. A lot of the things I don't agree with him. But when it comes to this thing, he knows the thing because he's been there. Experience matters. Now, looking at what is happening right now, what do you think the government should do right now to curb the inflation rate and also stabilize the market, especially with the OMCs, because the problem is not solved as we speak?
Let's just get back to where you dropped it off regarding the OMCs and the government not being aware. It just shows the sheer incompetence of this government. You know, all of you do because, to be fair, working in government does not automatically mean that you know everything that's happening. Even at the Ministry of Finance, where I've worked, I was at budget. I know budget. I know a social commentator who once said he's an economist talking about. I said, "Shut up! You don't know anything about the budget," and that's the truth. Because you have to work at the budget department to know how this budget works. I don't care how smart you are. Likewise, where these OMCs, this fuel structure is handled, is we used to call it the MPO, the macroeconomic department, where Alaji Jallo was a smart young guy. He was my mentee, and he knows what he's doing. So perhaps even syndicator cannot explain to you properly how this price structure works. But if we go to a point where there's a fuel crisis globally, if our government is serious, but Raju should not have waited for the OMCs to come and explain to him if he's serious and patriotic and is interested in development of this country. There should have been a presentation of the fuel price structure at their so-called retreat, where he was reading us poetry, insincere poetry. The entire government should have been at least have a good idea of what's happening. Like you said, you guys and many people went after the oil marketing companies, and I'm not a friend of business people. I know how they operate. But I think this time around, we were unfair to them. When have you seen, from the Jawara era down to the Jama era, OMCs saying they are shutting down their pumps, they don't want to sell? Can you ever remember that happening?
No.
You cannot. It has never happened. Do you think these people are so evil that they would not want our ambulances and our school bus and our soldiers and our police? They would not want them to have oil? No. If they don't sell, how do they make profit? They don't make profit. So if the oil markets get pushed to the wall to a point where they say that they are not going to sell fuel, then if it's a serious government, they should listen to these people. What happened was, I think, like Hydra said, when they went and explained it to Badra, then Badra's eyes were open. But Badra is part of the problem. Now, what's happening to CD? I'm not a fan of CD, but I don't like to criticize people unfairly also.
Yeah.
CD inherited this problem. This is entirely a budget problem. Fuel is expensive in the country, while among other factors, because government is taking too much revenue from fuel. So government does not want to bring down the tax they are collecting, which is about $18 per liter. But in the meantime, they are reducing both directly and indirectly the margin of the OMCs. But the OMCs, they are not NGOs. They are in business to make profit. And it is quite legitimate for them to make profit. Now, what's going to happen? Because the government has been spending beyond her means, charging too much duty, spending too much, borrowing. Now, government has an option. Reduce the taxes and or increase the price of fuel, because the price of fuel as it is right now is not sustainable. The other thing that government can do is to make sure that dollars are available. We have foreign reserves. Where are the reserves going to? Let Barrow call his governor central bank and his finance minister, because as far as I'm concerned, I don't think there is a commodity that is as sensitive as fuel in this country or any other place.
Yeah.
Any other thing right now is secondary, because for government to cut their expenditure, I'm not even going to tell them to do that, because when I told them at the right time, they did not listen. Do not increase salaries by 50%, they did it. Do not increase salaries by 30%, they did it. They've done a lot of things here I was silent on. But these ones I know is going to create what is called a structural deficit. Salary is not even appropriated by National Assembly, it's statutory, it's in the Constitution. Once you increase somebody's salary this year, you cannot come back to that person next year and say, the debt that you are taking is statutory. You have to pay it, or otherwise IMF will deal with you. So they mess up this economy. Now, despite what SI is saying, these people will travel because they need the per diem. They will not fight corruption because it's through corruption that they get kickbacks from their dirty procurement deals. They will not do all of that. But at least moderate the price of fuel, allow the OMCs a reasonable margin where they can cover their costs and have some normal profit. I think this can be done. I think fuel prices have to increase. I'm Momodou Sabally, I'm not a millionaire. If you increase fuel prices, I'm going to suffer. But I'd rather pay an extra $2 than sit down at home, because OMCs are shutting down. Government, I think they should bring down the tax they are charging, $18. It's just simply too much. Adam Barrow Sakunda Afele. Badra, you said the OMC said when they explained to Badra, he understood. Why can't Barrow call these business people? Adam is more important than Barrow. He's more famous, he's more powerful than him. But we've seen instances where he invite the GCC and businessman and sit down with him. What's the problem? Do these people care about the welfare of Gambians?
So you think if they reduce, but you said two things here. If they increase the price of fuel, me and you are going to suffer.
Yes.
But if they reduce the taxes, now that affects our national budget, because GRA now will be collecting less money, and already our debt is on the roof. We spend, how much of our money do we spend on loan servicing? It's like
more than a third.
More than a third of that. So how do we put all of that in context? How do we
have an option? We either do exactly what I am saying, or all OMCs will not sell, Kerr Fatou will not function, RBTH will not function, the police will not function. Can you imagine that?
That is bad.
I think Gambians should take a look at what happened at Sri Lanka. It had a strong connection with oil. At some point, you have to face the realities, or the reality will consume you. If I may use MI Fati word, it will consume you.
Yeah, that's bad.
Yes.
That's bad. So
reality check 101.
That is bad. So before we go, finally, Sabally, what is your advice to the finance minister? Looking at Siddiq Keita right now, I know. Okay, before you, do you believe that also there's some sabotage? Because there are a lot of people who say, "Oh, they're just trying to sabotage the minister," and you know, because I mean, when I saw some of the comments they were made, the finance minister is bullish. They don't respond to our letters, and I felt like, is that something? You know, when there's a new kid in the block, and we think he's not just dancing to our tune, so we're just going to do everything also to sabotage. Is that something that you think is happening
Let
around
me
that
tell
end?
you one thing from my experience in government, in the Gambia here and everywhere. Julo buka hani mansa kundala. Nin julo tarafam hani ta mansa kundala ro mansa kundala fan korosi. I know Gambian business people. I know they are not perfect, but generally they all try to be on the good side of the government. And there's no minister more important in that cabinet than the finance minister. Why would they go see syndicator and hate him and try to undermine? It's not true. The fact is that OMCs are in business. They spend their money. They need to recoup it. This is a private sector-led economy. If the private sector is not happy, if they cannot recoup their cost, if they cannot make some profit, the economy is going to collapse. And these people, they are not monsters from Mars. They are you and I, our brothers and sisters who invested their money. I mean, Duja is a Gambian. The others are Gambians. They employing Gambians. I know a lady from Sanyang Kunda, Demba Sanyang's daughter, who was one of the OMCs. Why would I want her the company she works for to close down because of a fake price structure and a fake exchange rate, and she goes home, she cannot support her children? Let's not listen to government trying to blackmail these OMCs. The government destroyed this economy by spending beyond our means. Now that the reality is kicking on them, they want to use the OMCs as a scapegoat. I'm not going to sit down here.
Finally,
face the reality. Tonya for Adama Baroye. Aliye menke economy tinyata lejanite sidiketa wongo bekela finance minister. That's the truth. Now those problems are catching up with us. I think the government, and it's Barrow's fault, in fact, I'm not even talking about CD. Because CD has a ministry to protect. Naturally, CD will not want that tax level to come down because that affects his ministry, because GRA is under his ministry. If GRA fails to attain their target, CD cannot attain his targets as agreed with the IMF and the World Bank.
Yeah.
So that's why there should be an independent employer like the president who can bring the finance ministry and OMCs. And this is what I told you, the BBC, when they asked me what's the solution. I said compromise. Government has to give up something, and the OMCs also give up something. But I don't think the OMCs are an enemy to this government or the Gambian public. I think they are genuine patriotic Gambians who are in business for the right reasons. So government should call them to the negotiating table and speak to the numbers, tell each other the truth.
Somebody's just watching us on TikTok, and he just said the hike in price. How do you think we can cope that? Also, the prices. Yesterday, I was talking to Sire, and 2 days ago, she sent me a list of stuff that we bought for the house, and I'm like, at some point, I was like, can you send me the detail? Because I can't believe that this kind of money was spent on food. Prices are going high. The crime rate is high. Everything is across the world, but Gambia in particular. How can we sustain this growth of 13.2% inflation rate, and the ordinary Gambian be able to survive it?
Just tell her it's gonna get worse, and it's nothing new. It's documented. Even I'm sure on the Kerr Fatou website is there. The open letters are to the finance minister, to Barrow himself, that they were wrecking the economy. They've done so much damage. This is just fruits of the seeds that they have sown. And this government is not smart or compassionate enough to take the right steps to make sure the burden is lighter on the people. I said it before, I'm saying it again. Fasten your seatbelts.
Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to get worse.
It's going to be a rough ride. It's going to get worse.
Wow,
without a doubt. Write it down. Call me back 3 months from now. Wallahi kana nyina sangi kari sabanyato yenaja membe tata Gambia ulebe jaw yala bitat. Takunga foyele tata dia kibaba.
Wow, that is scary, Esa. Final message, Esa. That is really scary. Fasten your seatbelt. It's going to get worse. Call me back 3 months' time, Esa. Sabally, I think that is very scary, Esa. What is your final message, Esa?
Well, I think government has to re-strategize. I don't know whether they should strategize or re-strategize. I don't know which one is fitting here, but they have to re-strategize. like he was explaining, how do you solve these problems? For me, I do not have the answers. I'm not an economist. I do not know how to do it. But it's I mean, certain things are very basic. The situation right now, if proper care is not taken, it could get worse. 5-6 months ago, when we were facing, or maybe a year ago or so, when we were facing some of these realities, I never thought that maybe it will get this worst at this time. Probably too, yeah. I mean, I'm a lay person anyway. I wouldn't know, but I mean, also looking at the realities at the moment, I don't think there is, much efforts from the side of the government. I mean, tangible things to really take care of the problem. The fuel crisis, I know is not solved yet. I know of that. I know that the OMCs are just compromising, trying to address the situation for a short term. But in the long term, it's something that we have to deal with. It's a reality that we have to deal with. Every day you go to the market, prices of commodities are just increasing. Now, bag of rice, I can guarantee you can't get it for 1,500 in this country. It's not possible. It has to rely anywhere. The cheapest price is $1,700. We are facing these economic realities. Everybody is complaining that things are difficult, nothing is working, and that is the reality that we are faced with. I always say it gets back to the point of government controlling, the frequent travels that have no benefit, that is not bringing any benefit. Like I said, during COVID, people were sitting down in their offices attending meetings. Some of these meetings is just useless to travel all the way outside the country and be receiving paradigms and all that. It's a way of looting from state resources, taking the taxpayers' money and just wasting it like that. That is not bringing any benefit. So I think the government needs to re-strategize, ensure that there's fiscal discipline, but also listen to expert opinions, try to see how to fix this mess. Because some of the times I think also they only, sometimes you don't have to focus on the messenger, you focus on the message. Where is the message coming from? That's where a lot of people have problem with. Or just because it's coming from him or somebody else, A or Z, they have a problem with that. But you just listen to the message, and try to make the best use of it. I think at the end of the day, we'll be able to solve this. The corrupt people in government, I always have a problem with these people. The government really needs to be serious with fighting corruption. This is the cancer to our development. For all these problems that we talk about, the MNCs, the businesses, and all that, at some point, the bedrock is corruption. Because we have decentralized, corruption is not only normalized in this country, corrupt public officials are not only celebrated in this country, but corruption is rampant and also decentralized under the Barrow government. And I think that is really something that they have to deal with if they really want to address the economic situation. Well, the consequences are there. I don't want to get into those things before they also come for me and start questioning me what you mean by that. But we know
I don't want to.
the economic sometimes economic difficulty or situation can force people to take certain measures that really can destabilize the country. We know what happened in Sudan. Bread price, imagine, was what led to all these troubles. And of course, in Sri Lanka, like you said, at some point, fuel is really behind it. So it's something that the government have to be cautious of in order to maintain, stability in the country. Economic stability also can translate into political stability or social stability. So if the economy is destabilized, it pushes a lot of people into poverty, into hardship, and at some point they have no choice, but they just have to revolt against the state, and that can cost the state a lot in terms of security and stability.
Thank you so much, Esa. And I'm going to pick up from something you said. You said, don't look at the person, look at the message they're sending. And I think someone said that on the comments. I'm going to read this, Sabally. Cisse Jibril, he said, Momodou Sabally, Gambia need you more than you need Gambia. It is high time they start listening to you. And I'm so proud of you. In our country, in our context, what we do when somebody like Sabally speaks, or somebody like even, let's say, Dr. Cisse or another person, just because they're oppositions, we don't listen to them. We say, it's
that's good for us, Fatou.
It's opposition kumolo, but it's important for us to listen to the experts. The reason why I say this, I want to. The reason why I say this, somebody like Sabally, right? You worked at the budget, you worked at the central bank, you know the inner workings of the central bank, you worked at the Ministry of Finance, you were custodian of our budget. You were making the budget. Now you get the experience of the central bank, experience at the Ministry of Finance, and then you work at policy level. You are driving the agenda at policy level. You have an idea about how things are done. I don't know anybody who has done all of these three. I don't know. Somebody can correct me. I don't know anybody who, as an individual, worked at Ministry of Finance, worked at Central Bank, and worked at State House as Secretary General to drive all of these things. I don't know. There might be people, I'm not sure. So people like that, the experience will help them and be able to guide them on things. So when people like that speak, let's not look at Sabally, the politician, but I think it would be good to also look at Sabally, the economy, Sabally,
you know what I was going to say? You know what I was going to say? Yeah. If they don't listen to us, that's good. Of course, we are politicians. If they do everything we tell them to do, then they will stay here long. We want that government out. But on a serious note, and beyond the experience, we don't just come to talk here because we have time. You know, we had to cancel last week because I have other issues.
Last week because you had other issues.
I don't have issues today. I should be with Ibrahima Diba at the police station right now. That's the right thing to do. Yeah. But it's country first before our political parties.
Yes.
And like beyond the experience, I will not just come here. And I told you I went to the central bank website to look at the latest numbers before I talk. We are not fools, and we are not here to make ministers or the president look bad. Before I spoke about this OMC issue, I was alerted several times. I ignored. Ultimately, I asked for the numbers for me to. I mean, no matter how much experience I have, if I don't keep up to date on what's happening here, I cannot speak to the realities. Neither is ESA. It doesn't mean that ESA is idle. That's why it's here every time. Where you are, you could have gone to the theaters right now. But it's our country first before our political parties and our media houses and our businesses. If we speak for all of us. If Barrow's government is doing the right things, my life is better. If they're doing the wrong things, even if I don't suffer, my favorite people, the people of Kiang, they're going to suffer. And they are very vulnerable, by the way.
They're suffering right now. The Kiankas are suffering right now. Thank you very much, Momodou Sabally. Thank you, Esa. And that brings us to the end of the show. Esa be haujin yala akasunne aramiso. Kiankon in domoro be haujin en text la konya it's time to throw sitale. So Sabally, keep us update on Ibrahima Diba. We will be following that, and we know he is with the party leader and the national president right now at the police station. I don't know what the update is as we finish this show, but keep us updated, and thank you very much. Today you are in the studio. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you, Esa, and to the entire viewership. Yes.
Yeah, Kerr Fatou, we thank you for joining us also online. We are very happy here.
All right, thank you, Esa. Thank you, Sabally. Esa, final message.
Sorry.
Esa, are you there or you gone?
I'm here.
Okay, final message. We're running out of time.
Final message. I just want to thank Sabally for taking time to us about a lot of issues, especially the latter topic, that is the economic of the country, but also providing solutions what the government can do. And of course, as a country, this is what we can offer as well. We try to do our little, and I hope the government also try to listen to some of these things in order to address the problems that we face as a country, to at least meet the expectations of the people. Certainly. And I also want to thank the viewership out there for the time, and see you next week. Yeah.
Thank you, Esa. Thank you, Sabally. And to all of you, Charles, Charles, where are you, Charles? Charles, where are you? Why are you going? Gosh, my Charles Moilo, no. And thank you everyone watching. Salimas, Usman Toure, Sajo Jamanka, Jabi Gassama, and all of you watching. Thank you on Facebook, and those of you who are watching on TikTok. I want to thank you all for joining us. If you're just joining us, remember to send us stars. When you send us stars here on Kerr Fatou, You are helping to empower the platform. You are helping to empower the network. You are helping to empower the show to be able to bring you shows like this and many more other shows. Inshallah, next week we will be back again. Ibrahim Adiba, now they're going home. What did he say?
Better and stronger as the sole ground operator at the Banjul International Airport. With an expansion in travel services, customers are assured of GIA's capacity to cater for all their travel needs, provided by professional, experienced, and ever-smiling staff. GIA's Hajj package and services, by far the best in the country, give the customers the opportunity for a memorable Hajj experience. For a more efficient cargo services, GIA means business as it launches its new multi-million-dollar ultra-modern cargo complex to revitalize and stimulate air transport. GIA, the pride of the Gambia.
Every day is a new opportunity to make sure our first impressions are always our best and to see possibilities on the horizon. To make our facilities and services more accessible and find freedom all around us. With a location proximity to active markets, with a liberal air transportation policy. That daily pursuit is how we turn everyday opportunities for you. For all destination marketing support, customized packages for new existing airlines and operators, and for a highly ranked tourist destination, the Gambia Civil Aviation Authority is here to serve. We regulate air transport, operate and manage BIA technical requirements merged with commercial considerations. We have experienced and well-trained aviation professionals to cater for your needs. For investment opportunities in building airport hotels, shopping malls, playground for children, do contact us on 4472-831, 4472-893. Gambia Civil Aviation Authority. We go beyond daily.